G'day and welcome to the Fred Paul Show. Well, amid all the traumatised reporting of the horrific attack by a lone psychopath at Bondi Junction Shopping Centre in Sydney on Saturday is the disturbing claim that, according to the Sydney Morning Herald, the attack went on for 25 minutes. Even if that is an exaggeration, and in fact it lasted only 10 or 15 minutes, during which 6 people were killed, it would still be a horrible, alarming and sad reflection on Australian society. This reflection has also been lost beneath a flood of generic emotional reporting and lame political reassurances. This assailant was alone, at times walking calmly, attacking women randomly. And everyone, except a few brave men and one well-trained female police officer, ran for their lives. Compare that to what happened last night after a teenager stabbed a beloved bishop at an Assyrian church in Wakeley, also in Sydney last night. This is the opposite extreme reaction. From timidity at Bondi Junction to a rabid, howling mob at Wakeley, baying for blood for a solid 3 hours. This too is a sad reflection on our country and its increasing tribalism. We know 4 of the people who stepped up at Bondi. Faraz Tahir, a Muslim Pakistani refugee who was unbelievably on his first day at work as a security guard. He was killed trying to save other people. Frenchman Damien Gouraud, who is now known as Bollard Man, and his compatriot Silla Desbro. And of course Amy Scott, the local police officer who arrived at the scene alone and shot and killed the assailant. There were some others, including a bloke called Ryan Bramble, who dared to challenge the psychopath. But where were the rest of the men? According to the Daily Telegraph, some of them were hiding in cupboards. Some men grabbed whichever women and children they could and tried to lock themselves in a shop. But when that failed, they found a cupboard to hide inside instead. The newspaper described this as men, quote, leaping into action. Well, leaping, yes, but into action? That would have required confronting the assailant, not hiding from him. Even worse, others were getting their phones out and filming the psycho instead of trying to stop him. But this has become standard practice in such situations around the world these days, a reflection of a wider malaise in our Western so-called civilization. In every decent civilization in history, men could be relied upon to run towards a woman's terrified screams, not away from them. Our civilization stopped being quite so decent about 70 years ago. Men raised in the passive, safe, mollycoddled eastern suburbs of Sydney were on Saturday suddenly forced to make a terrible decision. Run towards the screams of a woman probably being killed and risk being killed themselves, or run away and forever deal with a troubled conscience. The uncomfortable truth is that Saturday's assailant looked like he could have been taken down by just one good fighter, or 2 or 3 with moderate skills in boxing and wrestling. And if no such men were on hand, then half a dozen decent-sized blokes could probably have rushed him and pinned him down. Had that happened, women's lives would have been saved. But this, of course, is the age of feminism, when women don't need protection. Indeed, if you believe Hollywood, an 11-year-old girl can take out a room full of armed gangsters with just a couple of pistols, a purple wig, and a mask she bought at a $2 fancy dress store. So why do they need men to protect them? It's also the age of toxic masculinity, when men who can throw a punch are immediately assumed to be thugs who would assault, not protect, their womenfolk. This impression is now so widespread in our culture that it is routinely perpetuated in the media and by, God help us, our own government. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns has found a massive $18 million to throw at a coronial inquiry into the murders. What will that achieve? Here's a tip for you, Premier Minns. Instead of spending that money on a stupid post facto inquiry, spend it on teaching every boy at school from the age of 5 how to box and defend himself. Your feminist colleagues will tell you that that is toxic masculinity, but ignore them. They are just harridans who hate men whatever they do. By the time those boys grow up, they will hopefully be the type of men who don't run from danger. That would achieve far more than any other technological remedy your bureaucrats might propose. And while you're at it, remove from the school curriculum everything that teaches kids to hate their own culture, by which I mean climate catastrophism and the rewriting of our history as an act of colonial genocide. For too long, our education system has taught our youth to hate their own country and to have no hope in the future. Such an education system raises men who hide in cupboards while women are being murdered. Martial arts are not only for thugs, they are also for men who want to protect what's theirs. And, just quietly, they are also for professionals who, when they're not training or fighting, are reading books by Austrian school economists from a century ago.
I love America, I love the Constitution, I love the First Amendment, I want to carry and own fucking guns, I love it, property, and let me tell you something, if you care about your fucking country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian economic school model.
Boxing gyms are in fact healthy, positive and collegiate places where students are taught technique, not violence. More boys should join them, not less. The mob that formed outside the church in Wakeley last night is equally disturbing. There is clearly a tribalism going on in some of our suburbs to which the rest of us are oblivious, and this is not going to end well. Mob rule is ugly, but the display outside the church in Wakeley has at least one good aspect. The Assyrians, whose church has survived for almost 2,000 years, at least know that strength and devotion to community matter. More attacks will happen soon in Australia. That is just the nature of the times in which we live, despite the pathetic reassurances from our politicians that our diversity is our strength and preemptive technological security measures will make us safe. And whoever is planning to attack in Australia will see the contrast between Bondi and Wakeley and know which target is softer.